Ko morena. Good morning, everybody. Very early start for us this morning, being as it's an extraordinary council meeting. So good morning to you all. I guess before we kick off, could I ask you, Gary, to open us with either a prayer or a karakia, whichever takes your fancy.
Ena mana, ena reo, rau rangatira ma, tēnā koutou katoa, e te atua kaharawa, homo kia mātou te kaha. Ki te whai atu I ngā huarahi tika, mo tēnei hui I tēnei rā, tihei Māori ora. To the great Creator, give us strength to follow the correct pathway for our meeting today. Blessing be to life.
Thank you very much. Strength indeed. Right. So moving on then, thank you for that opening. No particular opening comments other than just to acknowledge the hard work that has been undertaken by Kirsty, Ken and Lisa's team since December, since that fateful day receiving the letter from Minister Brown in terms of Three Waters inclusion in our LTP. You've all collectively worked quite frankly, ridiculous amounts of hours since that time. And I'm really grateful and I extend your gratitude on behalf of elected members to your groups. It's been no small feat at all to get to this point, and we really appreciate your diligence in this space. So with those opening comments said, I'll move on to apologies. I'm not aware of there being any, although we don't have Dale with us right now, but hold the line, caller.
Yes, she's put in apologies for lateness.
Apologies for lateness from Dale Marie. And so I will move that apology be accepted. Andrew will second that. All those in favour say aye. Carried. Thank you. Disclosure of members' interests. I'm not aware of there being anything in particular, given we only have the one significant item. No late items as well, and a confirmation of the order of the meeting, of course, is going to be pretty difficult to reorder one item. So I think we can fairly say that I can move that's to be confirmed from the chair. Claire, will you second that for me? Great order. Yes, congratulations. Put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against. Carried. So that leads us then to our main and only item on this extraordinary agenda, deferral of the 2024-34 long-term plan. I shall pass the speaking bat over to you, Melissa. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you, Your Worship. So speaking of that fateful day in December, that was when government gave us formal notice of their intention to repeal the Affordable Waters legislation, which now meant that councils were required to include the provision for water services in their LTPs for the full 10 years, as opposed to only the first 2 years. So when government gave notice of their intention back in December, they also gave councils a 3-month extension to adopt their LTPs out to the end of September 2024. Due to the impact of this change, staff sought a resolution at the time from council to effectively use those provisions. Fast forward now to mid-February this year, government gave councils another option with respect to the development and adoption of their long-term plans, which was to delay the adoption of the LTP by 1 year and out to June 2025, and in its place adopt an enhanced annual plan for next financial year. So the purpose of this report is to ultimately seek a resolution from council to defer the option of the long-term plan to June 2025, and for the coming financial year instead adopt the enhanced annual plan. The advantage of this approach is that it does give us more time to consider the impacts of Three Waters coming back into the budget for the full 10 years. It will hopefully give us some more clarity and certainty on the government's plan for the future of the delivery of Three Water services, and hopefully give us some more certainty on other funding and financing options or mechanisms that may become available to councils to help manage their debt profiles given this significant shift in approach. There are a number of risks associated with this option, I guess like anything. So they're largely focused around the time frame. So between now and adoption, the timeframes to adopt an enhanced annual plan, they are incredibly tight and there is no room for slippage. And given this change in approach, it may be a case of you don't know what you don't know. There is, again, a degree of risk around that, and we haven't got any contingency to be able to respond to those. So the risk with that is not being able to adopt before 30 June, but just wanted to provide a balanced approach there in terms of advantages and risks. So if council was to go down the path of an enhanced annual plan, we will be required to consult with our community under the Section 82 principles, Section 82 of the Local Government Act, which is principles of consultation. So this is a less prescribed form of consultation, which basically means that we aren't required to have a hearing, although staff do still recommend that we do incorporate that into the timeframe. And with respect to the consultation period in terms of when submissions are open, under Section 83, we have to have that for a month. Under Section 82 principles, it's less prescribed, so we don't have to have a month. And you will notice in the timetable on page 3 of the report that although 1 month is ideal, we just haven't been able to factor that into the timeframes moving forward or through to adoption. So in terms of the next stage, again, if council was to approve this change in approach, the next deadline will be to present a draft budget and consultation topics to the Strategic Planning and Policy Committee on the 12th of March for approval.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Yes, it's certainly been a roller coaster to say the least. Any questions for Melissa or Ken in respect of the paper and recommendations before us this morning? Claire and then Philip.
Thanks very much. Yeah, really appreciate how you've set it out. It's pretty clear, I think, and yeah, huge acknowledgement of the work that's gone in. My question was just about what does enhanced annual plan mean? Like, we haven't really had a lot of detail in that. So I'm thinking more of the consultation side of things. What extra information will we be required to put in any consultation material? And then my second big question is for some of the big capital projects that are going to disappear from, you know, this stage of our budgeting, I'd like to understand whether or not there's a chance that they'll go back in as we develop the new LTP, you know, from next year. So my biggest concern is around the Pirongia Cycleway project, which was going to have significant work starting. So it's out of the annual plan at the moment. Is there going to be any sort of opportunity for councillors when we are developing the LTP to actually look at what projects did get lost in this annual plan process to see whether or not there's any chance of getting any of them back in? Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty basic, I guess.
So
Thank
to answer
you.
your first question first, the additional requirements of an enhanced annual plan basically mean that we would take some of the detail that we would normally include in our long-term plan with respect to the group of activities. It's around putting more description around the activities and the services that we provide to the community. And then, so from, I guess, from a resourcing perspective, that's pretty easily done. We are not normally required to consult on an annual plan. So that is the biggest change, that we are required to consult under Section 82 on this annual plan.
Yeah, so sorry, Melissa, and through your worship. So one of the enhanced annual plan things in terms of group of activities, stuff we need to report on is quite a bit of detail in regard to service levels. So yeah, you wouldn't normally put those. They're very much a part of a LTP. They're not usually a part of an annual plan, but we will have to provide that information, which will be pretty straightforward because that will be that, yeah, we're not looking to, as part of this process to be changing those service levels. So it's pretty much pulling that information out of our current LTP and putting it in the annual plan. So yeah, so that's just one of those aspects that Melissa was talking about.
Sorry if I could just answer the second question as well. We, as I've sort of touched on, we don't necessarily know what additional provisions might come out of central government with respect to funding and financing arrangements, and even what the future of water services, delivery of water services looks like. We haven't got that. We haven't got a huge level of certainty around that. But absolutely, when we get into planning for the next long-term plan, there will be an opportunity to relook at all of these projects again. Obviously, you can't make decisions now for the long-term plan, but yeah, that will be part of that piece of work.
Ken?
So look, again, through Her Worship, I mean, I think that's one of the most compelling reasons to to put this recommendation to you, that we defer the LTP and we do an enhanced annual plan, because it does give us a real chance to have a really good look at those discretionary projects, and depending on what else changes in the landscape over the next, well, I suppose effectively 8 or 9 months, that's the period we'll be developing this over. Depending on what else changes in the landscape, what can we fit in, and to obviously take that through a really good process with the public as well, as part of a consultation process after it's been developed up in draft form.
Ken. Philip, Liz, then Roger.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Just hopefully some of those projects haven't completely disappeared, and they are up for discussion, but quick question, what's the feel out there with other councils? Which way are they going? What's the feel out there with regards to deferred long-term plan?
So we do know that, we do know that some other councils are taking this approach. I think that Kato District made the call, I think last week, to go down the enhanced annual plan path as well. I've heard of one other, which I'm probably not in a position to say at the moment, but yeah, we know that there has been a level of interest within the sector.
Yeah, locally or nationally?
Nationally.
It's entirely, it's entirely dependent on the circumstances of each district and where they were at in terms of the progression of their LTP development, by and large. So it is a bit variable. It depends on what is best for each district and community.
Like a lot of the councils were all up against some of the same things. So
Liz and then Roger.
Yeah, actually, my kind of comments were just around, from a lay person watching this all play out nationally would be wondering why some councils will proceed with an LTP and some will proceed with an enhanced annual plan. And I guess what I wanted to say was that every council has lots of different projects and their timings are all different as well. So where we'll be making the decision that's best for us as Waipa. And when I look at the report, I think there's some key words in there. Producing an LTP on a sounder basis. That's pretty much it. We've always said we wanted to be a strategic-led council. We want to make really good decisions, really clear decisions about what projects we've got in front of us. So for me, looking at weighing all of the options up, and I appreciate there are other councils who will be continuing with their long-term plan, that's fine. But for Waipa, this is probably our best, I think, the best way forward. Give ourselves a bit more breathing space. So on that basis, I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Liz. Echo your sentiments. Roger.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Thank you. I'm really in favour of this enhanced annual plan. I think there's a lot of logic that sits behind that decision, particularly in terms of we are supposed to make informed strategic plans, and there is so much lack of information out there currently that is really preventing us from making a sound judgment. So I endorse that. My question is, the work that we previously put into, first of all, the LTP and then into perhaps a delayed LTP, and the indications that we had of what our rates structure was likely to be. And you've done a lot of work on bringing that back and bringing it back. Is that now, again, going back into that grey space until we see the revised budgets coming out, or are we anticipating similar levels? Or are we able now, because it's an enhanced annual plan and we were deferring more, even some of our operational levels of service, is that likely to see a reduction in that projection on rates increase?
Okay, yeah, through your worship, look, I mean, the crystal ball gazing, yeah, councillor. So look, yeah, I mean, you know, the very key reason, and yeah, you know, it's been talked about already this morning of delaying this LTP is to be in a much sounder position, to have a far greater understanding of some of the context, to work through those numbers more. So yeah, so look, the work that we've done up till now certainly is not wasted. I mean, we've obviously got a great platform there that we've built. Yeah, we are concerned about particularly on the deep metric side with those numbers that are on the platform at the moment. Yeah, we are hopeful that because we're well aware that we're not the only council in this position. Yeah, we're well aware of various lobbying that's going on. We're well aware of central government concern about this situation for councils. So we are hopeful that there may be some better solutions that come into play over the next few months that will enable us to have another look at that platform that we built again, and yes, hopefully have a better basis for an LTP going forward.
Yes, I understand that. I don't think you actually caught the question and answered it. I was talking about the rates level that we're looking at for this next year for the enhanced annual plan. That was what I'm more interested in.
Okay.
Because we've done a lot of work on getting that down as much as we could.
Yes.
Is that out of the window?
Yes.
And are we, can we expect to see something similar in terms of our projected this year's rates increases,
yes,
rather than?
Yeah. So through your worship, sorry, councillor, I misinterpreted your question. I thought you were talking much more about the outer years rather than the 24-25 year. So next week, the 12th of March, as Melissa said, next Tuesday, we are coming back to you with the enhanced annual plan numbers. But look, specifically in relation to the question you raise, we believe those numbers will need to be very similar to the ones that we've been talking about all along, before Christmas. So pre-Christmas we were talking obviously about a 14.8%. That was public information that was in a public workshop. Next week we are looking to bring to you a very similar number in regard to that rates increase for what was year one of the draft LTP.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Andrew.
Thanks, Susan, through you. So just for clarity, I'm assuming that an enhanced annual plan for the coming year is effectively year 4 of the current LTP, but modified.
Yes, so we are required to pick up year 4 of the 2021-31 long-term plan as our starting position, acknowledging that the world has moved on a little bit in 4 years. So we'll need to go through a process of making sure that we're comfortable with the proposed capital program of works, basically.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess my next question is, will we attempt to explain the differences between year 4 of the current LTP and what we're going out to consult on, because I'd really like to see that in black and white for people to, you know, consider in a.
Yes, yeah. So absolutely, it is one of the requirements of something that we would normally have to do anyway. But that will be something that's well and truly covered off in the consultation document.
Yeah, terrific.
Yeah. So through your worship, there, I mean, there are vast differences between year 4 of the current LTP and what we are presenting. So yeah, so I mean, the world has changed absolutely significantly. You know, all sorts of things in terms of inflation, interest rates, etc. That have impacted us from you know, from where we were. You know, yeah, when we formulated that. So yeah, so look, essentially essentially the enhanced annual plan is very much it is very much the numbers that we shared with you in terms of year 1 of the LTP. That is very much that, but legislatively we're absolutely required to explain any variance from year 4 of the current LTP.
Okay, so my last thing's not really a question, more a comment, but I met and was in some discussions with another finance chair of a reasonably local council. Their intention apparently is to go with the long-term plan. And I guess I'd like a comment from you. My thinking on that is that while I appreciate the risks involved, more about the timing and delivery, I think it seems we're in such an uncertain state that to do a long-term plan would risk having to do an amendment in future years, which I understand is quite a process.
Correct. Yeah. So through your worship, I mean, that's exactly where we're coming from in terms of the deferral for a year, creating a sounder LTP. Yeah, I would have thought that if we did push ahead and we did adopt an LTP in the current financial year, you know, given that we are hopeful of a change of landscape, you know, given the financial pressures we're under with Three Waters coming in, yeah, I mean, I think if we did actually adopt one now. Yeah, we would be at quite heightened risk of having to do an amendment either in 2025 or in 2026. You know, as that landscape changed, as we wanted to respond in different ways. So this is more about you know, doing it once, doing it right. Obviously, a delayed LTP by a year means that LTP, when we do adopt it in 2025, will only have a 2-year life rather than the normal 3-year life. But yes, I think it's a much sounder and much more stable basis of working.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken. Roger, and then Mike.
Good. Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Part of the challenge that you've already referred to is our capital debt stroke revenue ratio. My understanding is that irrespective of whether we go to an enhanced annual plan or whether we go for a later version of an LTP, that challenge with the metric still exists. So we still got that same capital to revenue ratio challenge. And that's resulting in quite a change to the ability of this council to do not only the nice to haves, but also some of the projects that relate to levels of service and growth. Is that still the case within this enhanced annual plan? We've still got that big, if you like, burden of limitation on we can do, which would normally have been kind of business as usual.
Yes, so look, through her worship, I see just a few moments ago the enhanced annual plan that we're looking to bring you the numbers for next Tuesday looks very, very similar to to the year one of the LTP that we were working on. So so look, similar capital program, councillor, similar rates increases I mentioned before, similar debt levels, etc. Very much that. But look, I'd suggest that we work through that with you next week. Yeah.
Mike.
Oh, thank you through your worship. Hey, thanks for the report. Very good report. And look, it's common sense to me. Is the recommendations there? Good on the government for giving, I guess, council some options and not sort of wedging them into a corner of making some decisions that that are risky for councils to make right across the country. So it gives us time to sort of take stock, see what's coming legislatively, and then, like as you say, make some good decisions. So I'm happy to second the motion A through C.
Thanks, Mike. Lou?
Thank you through you. I just wanted to question one thing. With the LTP, we have got the training elections coming up, of course. And will we have enough time to be able to fully consult and fully go out without impacting to the elections? This is our training election. So I just wanted to raise that issue because normally we do this, as I say, in your second year of your triennium, and we're moving it now to the third year. So I just wanted to raise that just to see if we have more, enough time to completely have all the submissions. Impacting on this, of course, is some of the main things in our annual plan. Some of the big capital items will probably need a little bit more discussion, development than normal.
So through your worship, I mean, the very simple facts of the matter, councillor, that the 2025 LTP would have to be adopted by 30 June 2025. The elections are in October. So look, the LTP would have to be adopted, I guess well before the elections, but look, there is just a few months, obviously following. So it would be adoption of the LTP, and very, very soon thereafter. It would be very much into into election territory.
Quick turnaround for the pre-election reports and what have you.
Look,
I think it seems to me that everybody's comfortable with the proposed recommendation that sits before us. Look. Back in December, of course, I said that the government's announcement was a game changer, and I guess little did I realise that we'd get this curveball at almost the 11th hour. But look, I think to echo Councillor Pettit's sentiments, I think it's been a bit of a lifeline. It's given us the opportunity really to be a bit more considered, get some clarity, and make some sounder kind of decisions, which can only ever mean better outcomes for our community, which is what this is all about at the end of the day. Sure, it will place us in a little bit of a pressure situation in terms of 2 LTPs back to back, but that's neither here nor there in my view. I think it's important that we ensure that we have the best information before us and we can make some really considered and sound decisions for our community's benefit. So look, without there being any further discussion on the matter, I have a mover in Liz and a seconder in Mike. I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Wonderful. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you for all your hard work. Morena, Dale. It's so good. So we got your apologies. So that brings our meeting, our extraordinary council meeting, to a conclusion. So I'll ask Gary to close for us. Over to you, Gary.
Tipo hiri, tipo rarama, tipo o te whakaro, tipo o te tangata, tipo o te araha, ko ine na po, I here nei ia tātou, Maori ora kia tātou, home e hui e tahi ki e.